We are making a start with some big news that's breaking this minute, with Karnataka becoming the second worst hit state due to the coronavirus. Karnataka Chief Minister spoke to Mirror Now on the state of affairs, while B.S. Yediyurappa chose to dodge our questions on the state's poor handling of the pandemic. He said that 50% beds from private hospitals, the situation will improve in future, he said. Listen into that exclusive conversation.
I want to know, Karnataka right now is the second worst state after Maharashtra, sir. How are you handling the situation right now?
Pardon?
He's asking.
About 1 year, our achievement. We have spent everything and we have released so many books. And because of Corona, we could not able to reach up to expectation of the people. But now we are not all going to have lockdown at any cost in Karnataka, and we are just depending upon the financial aspect we are looking after, and in future we are going to have development activities, and there will not, whatever I have announced in the budget, we are going to fulfill, and if necessary we will take loan and we will complete all the works we have taken.
It's been very testing time for you all in this government. So one question is, Bengaluru was lauded and Karnataka was nationally lauded, but now it's become the second worst state after Maharashtra.
Who told you? Now because of COVID they are facing some problem.
Okay.
Now you are trying to solve that problem, and we have made all arrangements. No, not even in almost all the hospitals, private hospitals also, they are going to give 50% beds, and I don't think in future any problem will be there.
Let me bring in my colleague Shrija, who's joining me live, who got us that exclusive conversation there with the Chief Minister of Karnataka. Shrija, clearly the big question still remains unanswered. Why is the state not being able to contain the situation? There are several factors that you yourself have highlighted in the past by doing several ground reports. But this is a clear indication that perhaps all is not well.
Well, that's right, Apurva. In fact, this is the exclusive conversation with B.S. Yediyurappa. Remember, just completing 1 year of his governance, and he clearly dodges the question. Now, this is definitely the testing time after the floods for Karnataka government, but we see that he's failing to acknowledge the situation on ground. Now, remember, Apurva, just on Saturday, we saw how a corona warrior, she died, this is out of breathlessness, without getting a bed at all in nearly 6 of the hospitals that she physically visited, along with her son carrying an oxygen cylinder. So this is not a standalone incident. We also see that several of the common man, in fact, calling up the hospitals to find out, or even being turned away by the hospital authorities. So despite questioning the fact by saying that right now Karnataka was in fact initially, remember, lauded nationally for all the kind of strategies brought out by the Karnataka government, but now it's come second after Maharashtra. We are looking at the active cases anyway standing between in fact 58,000 to 59,000. This is as far as any of the metro cities are concerned, be it Chennai or Maharashtra and Delhi. So we see right now Karnataka is the second state after Maharashtra. So questioning, putting out this kind of a data in front of Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa, he fails to acknowledge, yes, this is a huge cause of concern, but instead he goes on to question us, asking who gave us the data. Now remember, this is the data given by the Karnataka government itself. It's by his own, in fact, from his own departments, but he did not give us a very solid answer as far as the active cases, the increase in cases of coronavirus is concerned in the state of Karnataka. But he goes on to say that, the private medical establishments, what they have to do right now is reserve 50% of the beds. So clearly our questions went unanswered. Unfortunately, we also understand the Chief Minister of the state fails to acknowledge the situation and also the growing medical crumbling infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And also where people continue to struggle and die because they are not getting beds. Just yesterday, another Paura Karmika, a coronavirus warrior also, we understand, he also lost his life. This is after, in fact, hunting for beds from one hospital to the other.
Absolutely, and we are looking at almost 5,000 cases a day for the last 5 days, and the situation continues to remain grim, which also with the crumbling medical infrastructure in the state of Karnataka. Shrija, I request you to stay with us at this point. We're getting more exclusive updates coming in. Mirror Now, in fact, also spoke to the Revenue Minister of Karnataka, who is also in charge of managing the pandemic in the state. The minister said that it has been a tough year for the BSY government, with the floods first and then with the pandemic. Also going on to blame outsiders entering the state from other countries and also the states, leading to a rise in the coronavirus cases.
Leadership of Mr. Yediyurappa, we are completing 1 year.
Right.
So the challenge facing year, this one flood and another COVID.
Right.
So the only one person in this time, that is Yediyurappa. So his leadership, we done good work for the people of Karnataka.
So one question what we wanted to ask is, it was the best performing state, okay, but now it's become the second worst state after Maharashtra because we have the highest number of active cases. What's your reaction?
Because of more people from foreign countries and other state, they came by flight, train. So that is the problem to Karnataka.
How are you all planning to fix this?
So now we are fighting against Corona in the war footing.
Let me once again bring in my colleague Shrija for further updates on this. Shrija, we just heard that reaction you brought for us from the Revenue Minister of Karnataka, who does acknowledge the fact that yes, it has been a tough year, but also at the same time he is going on to blame the outsiders for the number that is increasing. There seems to be no acknowledgement whatsoever, Shrija, that is coming in from the government as to why the beds are unavailable, why the ambulance facility is not there, why the helpline numbers are going unanswered.
Well, Apurva, at first you have Chief Minister of the state, B.S. Yediyurappa, in fact, failing to acknowledge the fact that there is a problem on ground. But he goes on to say that medical establishments will have to reserve 50% of the beds. And he also, in fact, questions us as to who gave us the data that Karnataka is the second after Maharashtra in terms of the highest active cases. Now, whereas the Revenue Minister, Ashok, he acknowledges the fact, yes, there is a problem on ground. But then his answer to that is the foreigners and also the people who have entered the state of Karnataka from the other states. Now, he puts the blame on them. Well, that is not something where any of the citizens in the state of Karnataka are looking at this point in time, because the ground problems, the real situation on ground that we are hearing from a lot of people is that they're not getting beds. One, secondly, that ambulances are turning up nearly 3 or 4 hours later. And third most important thing, even if the beds are available, there are no beds with ventilator or oxygen support. So these have been the complaints that have been coming from especially the people of Karnataka. And this is not something new. We are not just talking about the common man, but we are also looking at where several of the corona warriors have lost their life just hunting for beds. So we have a revenue minister who's also in charge of the pandemic, clearly does not have an answer. We also go on to question, how are you planning to fix the situation right now? Because we are already second after Maharashtra. Clearly there is a hesitance over there. We see that he doesn't have an answer in hand. That means Karnataka is still not prepared to fight this. They just don't have a strategy. But we see that Chief Minister of the state goes and appoints nearly 8 of the ministers by creating 8 different zones in Bengaluru. But clearly they don't have a strategy in hand.
Absolutely, and that's the bigger concern there. There is no acknowledgement of the real problems on ground, which both my colleagues Shrija and Neha Hebale have brought to us time and again. Indicating how there is a crumbling medical infrastructure, whether it is unavailability of the beds, whether it is talking about the helpline numbers, or even the ambulances which are not reaching on time. That remains the grim concern at this point. Shrija, request you to stay with us at this point. I'm also going to bring in my colleague Neha Hebale in just a short while to also understand the problems that is being faced in the state of Karnataka, because there have been several indications, the fact that several of the social distancing norms have been flouted at areas, several impact has not been seen in the containment zones because people continue to violate the norms and nothing has been implemented. So that remains the prime concern there, because we're looking at least 5,000 cases a day for the last 5 days, which has exponentially increased the number of cases in the state of Karnataka. Now we're looking at the total number of cases in Karnataka, which is at 58,417 active cases, and the state currently reporting over 5,000 cases. Several factors, which also includes lack of social distancing distancing norm in some places, and also failure to properly enforce the lockdown norms in the containment zones. Let me bring in my colleague Neha Hebale on this. Neha, this is the important aspect. While we have been questioning the government, there seems to be a lack of acknowledgement really coming in onto the real problems, which is the lack of social distancing norms, the failure to enforce the lockdown norms in the containment zones. You have been reporting on ground. What have you found out, the kind of problems that the state of Karnataka is facing?
Well, Apurva, that's right. You've really summed it up very aptly. About 5,000 cases that have been reported on a daily basis for the past 5 days. Now, Apurva, it's imperative for us to understand that this itself has contributed to almost about 20,000 cases in just 4 days. So this is, one aspect of the rising number of cases. But also, Apurva, a very startling figure that's actually come to light here is that Karnataka has, in fact, overtaken almost every other state, just falling behind Maharashtra with about 58,000 active cases currently. Karnataka also, of course, what we understand, Apurva, being one of the first few states to actually reach the 50,000 mark of active cases, even when the total number of cases is still under 1 lakh. The total number of cases that the state has seen stands at about 96,000. So this is, of course, a very worrisome trend. We're also looking at, how, of course, this actually has come to a situation today when Karnataka was hailed as, the model state, or when people were looking up to the state of Karnataka and how they managed to, actually contain it, to today where, we're actually seeing that the government is slowly losing grip of the situation with almost, Apurva, about just 2 days ago, we reported how there were 3,000 missing patients in Bengaluru alone, which the civic body is unaware of. So, major lapses like this and the fact that, the lockdown enforcement in the containment zones has terribly failed, all of this coupled has, in fact, pushed Karnataka to the second spot, in the highest number of active cases.
Absolutely, and we hope there is some resolution in sight and all of these main problems are in a way acknowledged and resolved by the government soon. Neha, many thanks for joining us and bringing us all those updates. We're getting some news that's breaking this minute. The latest update coming in the Sushant Singh Rajput death case. Director Mahesh Bhatt records his statement in this case. The filmmaker was spotted at the Santa Cruz police station in Mumbai. Remember, earlier we had been reporting how several statements have been taken of Bollywood celebrities in this case. The latest right now is Mahesh Bhatt, who has recorded his statement in this case. Let me bring in my colleague Sandhya for further updates on this. Sandhya, what more details? All right, we'll try and reconnect with Sandhya in just a bit. But right now, the latest to record his statement in the Sushant Singh Rajput death case is director Mahesh Bhatt. And the filmmaker was in fact spotted earlier at the Santa Cruz police station in Mumbai. So far, we have seen statements of almost 38 people that has been recorded so far. The Mumbai police currently is still investigating the professional rivalry angle in the Sushant Singh Rajput death case. Let me bring in my colleague Sandhya for further updates on this. Sandhya, what more details can you share with us at this point? We're looking at the latest to record his statement is Mahesh Bhatt, who was earlier spotted at the Santa Cruz police station in Mumbai. What more details can you share with us about this?
So, Apurva, as informed by Maharashtra's Home Minister Anil Deshmukh himself yesterday that how Mumbai police will record filmmaker Mahesh Bhatt's statement. So it was today that he went to Santa Cruz police station to record his statement. It was at around 11:30 in the morning. He reached the police station. And around 10 to 15 minutes ago, he left the police station. And it is said that his statement was recorded there only. Now, the details of the statement and all those things are yet to come out. But as of now, Mahesh Bhatt, another big name, his statement has been recorded in the case so far.
All right, Sandhya, many thanks for joining us and bringing us those breaking updates. With that, we are slipping into a very short break. Back in just a bit. Welcome back. Let's get you more updates on the big story. This has been yet another case of alleged custodial death that has once again been reported from the state of Tamil Nadu. On July 22nd, a farmer, Annai Kannai Muthu, in fact, was called in for questioning by the State Forests Department over illegal fencing when that is when this entire controversy broke out. We understand that the family has now alleged that the custodial death and in fact has also now demanded a probe into this entire case. And in fact, earlier we had seen Tamil Nadu Chief Minister today announced a 10 lakh grant for the kin of Muthu and also a government job. Meanwhile, an inquiry has been initiated, but the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister in a statement said that the deceased developed chest pain during interrogation and was then later rushed to a nearby hospital.
18 காயங்கள் உள்ளது என்று எங்க அப்பா பாடியை கொண்டு காமிச்சாங்க. நீதிபதியே காமிச்சாங்க. 18 காயங்கள் இருக்கு. புரட்டி எங்க அண்ணன் மாதிரி எங்க எல்லாத்தையுமே காமிச்சாங்க. காமிச்சி கையெழுத்து போட சொன்னாங்க. நாங்க எதுலயுமே கையெழுத்து போட மாட்டோம்னு சொன்னோம். அவங்க கோவ வச்சிட்டு போனாங்க. எதுக்காக கையெழுத்து கேக்கீங்கன்னு சொன்னதுக்கு 18 காயங்கள் உங்க அப்பா மேல உள்ளது. அதுக்கு மட்டும் தான் இந்த கையெழுத்து வாங்கணும் மட்டுமே சொல்லி எங்க 5 பேர்ட்ட கையெழுத்து வாங்குனாங்க.
Let me bring in my colleague Pramod for further updates on this. Pramod, this has been yet another case of alleged custodial death that is once again emerging out of Tamil Nadu. But what is important here is to note that there are allegations from the side of the family who say that there were 18 wounds that were found on the body parts of the father. However, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister has very quickly given out a statement that the victim had in fact suffered a chest pain and was immediately rushed to the hospital.
Well, that's the most unfortunate part over here. This is the third case of police brutality that has been that has come out from the state of Tamil Nadu, and a third person to die, allegedly in a custodial death. For instance, you might remember last month we had father and son Jairaj and Benix, who allegedly died in the custody of Satankulam police station, and that case has been handled by the CBI, where 10 policemen have been arrested so far. And on 22nd, this person was called as Anaikari Muthu, a farmer, was taken by the forest officials, 5 men in a jeep, for questioning over an illegal fence placing, and he was taken by 11:30 a.m. and he was declared dead the next day by 9:30 a.m. That 11:30 p.m. to 9:30 a.m. that was the most scary part, and the family is completely outraged. They have said that they do not want the Chief Minister's 10 lakh compensation or a government job, and they just want the people who are responsible to be brought in front of justice. So far, only a case under Section 176A, under CRPC, has been registered. A magistrate is conducting an inquiry. No investigation so far yet.
Absolutely no investigation has been initiated into this entire case. Pramod, request you to stay with us at this point. We have also now accessed the FIR details of this entire case. The complaint has been filed by the victim's son, which states that Annai Kannai Muthu was taken for questioning at 11:30 p.m. on 22nd of July by 5 forest officials. He later fell unconscious and was rushed to 2 hospitals where he was declared dead at around 1:30 p.m. Let me once again bring in my colleague Pramod for those updates. Pramod, the FIR details is something that is of utmost importance right now. But there are certain issues that are being highlighted by the family, because now they are questioning what happened during the time of the questioning. Because right after that, when he was picked up and then he was taken to the hospital, 2 hospitals, and then he was declared dead.
Well, that is why we need an investigation, proper investigation into the matter, because this person who was taken on 22nd, a 62-year-old farmer, dies the very next day, and his daughter Vasanthi comes forward and says that the magistrate brought in a report where it was mentioned that there were 18 wounds in the body of the person, and not just that, the family had denied to disagreed to conduct the post-mortem report without anybody from their family being representing them, because they wanted to find out what exactly has happened. Initially, the daughter claims that earlier the official said that post-mortem will not be conducted, but the very next day they were given a report stating that post-mortem has been completed, and that's the reason the family has even denied to accept the body till now.
All right, Pramod, many thanks for joining us and bringing us all those details in this case. We're getting some news that's breaking this minute coming in from the top court. The Supreme Court seeks the UGC's response on petitions seeking squashing of its guidelines dated July 6th, whereby all the universities' colleges have been instructed to conduct the final year examinations by September 30th, 2020. Now, over a dozen students from across the country had moved the Supreme Court. Let me bring in our Deputy News Editor Meenakshi Banja for further updates on this. Meenakshi, this has been a very critical issue because several of the students had raised concerns over the UGC guidelines. What more details can you share with us about what is happening in the top court now?
Well, that is right, Apurva. The Supreme Court has sought UGC's response on these batch of petitions. Remember, one of the petitioners included a COVID-19 positive student, and they have pointed out these petitioners, which include this COVID-19 positive student, have pointed out that there are many final year students who themselves or their family members are also COVID-19 positive. So the Supreme Court has fixed for hearing this matter for Friday, July the 31st. And in the meantime, the Supreme Court has sought for UGC's responses on this batch of petitions.
All right, Meenakshi, many thanks for joining us with those updates. Let's now shift our focus, get you more updates now coming in. The flood condition in Bihar continues to wreak havoc. 10 lives have been lost. 15 lakh people have been worst affected in almost 11 districts of the state. Now, the worst hit district is Darbhanga with a population of 5.36 lakh people who have either been displaced or they have been trapped inside their homes. Now, flood waters have entered several of the residential areas, forcing people to in fact wade through waist-deep waters in several of the districts as they try and salvage whatever valuable they can. Meanwhile, 2 youth have drowned in Ganga as the river continued to swell up. 8 other rivers are continuing to be flowing above the danger mark. While the flood situation in Bihar continues to wreak havoc, we are bringing you several stories of survival against odd odds that are coming in from the state. A 25-year-old woman gave birth on a boat during a rescue mission. Also, there are dramatic visuals of the flood and there are food, water and relief material that are being airdropped by the Indian Air Force. Let's now look at some of the updates in the ground report that is coming in at this point. Times Network continues to get you the latest situation on ground of the flood-hit state of Bihar. This is a ground report that is coming in from Darbhanga-Samastipur highway where the water levels continue to be flowing above. In fact, this has brought the traffic to absolute standstill. People have been left stranded on the roads without food and water for several days now.
The flood situation in the state continues to remain grim, with water levels in most of the rivers continuously rising. Now, 10 districts in Bihar have been badly affected because of floods. Right now, we are reporting from Darbhanga, and as we show you visuals, this is the Darbhanga-Samastipur state highway, and you can clearly see that water has almost crossed over the state highway. This is the Darbhanga-Samastipur state highway, and as you can see, the water level has increased and it has almost crossed this road here. Certainly traffic has been affected. A large number of people have also come on the streets here, on the roads here on the state highway. You can clearly see somehow these private taxis and vehicles wading through this flooded water here. Now, certainly 10 districts of Bihar have been badly affected, out of which Darbhanga is one of the districts where 88 panchayats are affected, and it's being said that in the state more than 10 lakh people have been affected because of floods. Now, certainly many villages have been cut off because of the floods. People have come to the state highways, to the national highways in search of security. They have come to safer places. You can clearly see that how people have been walking through these flooded waters to reach the safe destinations. Now, certainly at a time when all the villages have been cut off, villages have been marooned from district headquarters, from subdivisions, people have no food to eat, and that is the reason why they have come on the state highways, on the national highways. Certainly the government has been claiming that community kitchens have been running, but the real picture here is that there is no community kitchen here, no camps being run by the state government. That is what the people have been saying. And as we show you visuals on my right side, you can clearly see that these are villages and farms here completely submerged in water. Now the villages have been cut off from the main roads.
इतना पानी आ गया सर कि रोड पर आ गए हम लोग, रोड पर भी पानी आ गया सर, हम लोग कहाँ जाए सर फुटपाथ पर आगे पुलवा पर हम लोग बसे हुए हैं।
और परिवार, बच्चे, बाल
सारे
बच्चे,
बच्चे लेके सर एकदम भूखे प्यासे मर रहा है।
क्या सरकार की तरफ से कोई
कोई योजना नहीं, कुछ नहीं सर मिला है अभी तक, कुछ वो पन्नी तक नहीं मिला है सर, पन्नियों झापने के लिए था तो वो भी नहीं मिला है सर।
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of The Big Story. News and updates continue on the other side.